Everyone, and welcome to the Being Your Own CEO Success Circle. We got together because we enjoy each other's company and we love sharing and experimenting and and just generally exploring all the possibilities. My name is Lowell Ann Fulsang. My website, as you can see on the screen, is lowellann.com, and I help solopreneurs get to where they want to go through a combination of coaching and consulting. So welcome to everyone that's here. We have, I must sort of let everybody know that we have had a few technical difficulties this morning. So if you find that you're having any trouble, one way to maybe the first thing to try is to F5. So just let's hope that the Google Plus gremlins don't get us this morning. So the first thing that we normally do is have everyone introduce themselves. And this morning, I usually try to go with the way people joined in order, but because of all the technical difficulties this morning, I don't remember who. Well, I know Bill was here first, but the order after that, I don't know. So why don't I start on one end of the screen and just work my way back through? And it always ends up that Heidi gets the brunt of this. So I'm going to start at the other end this morning. So Tim, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Tim Longwell with Longwell Art Studios, where we help you reignite your creativity. And if you can't create what you want to, with our help, we'll do it for you. We're located in southeastern Oklahoma, which isn't too sunny day. We got a lot of liquid sunshine and gray skies.
Yes, I know about that liquid sunshine today. So welcome here, Tim. And in advance, thank you for your wrangling support. Tim's going to be keeping an eye on the comments for me. So Roland, how about you? What's up with you this morning and where are you?
Hi, thank you, Lowell. I'm Roland from MinMax Media, hailing from Southern Orange County, and encouraging you to min-max your media for the minimum you need for maximum impact. And I would like to encourage everyone, get a mic and express yourself.
Aha. Orange County. Those of us who live in Canada, that doesn't mean a thing.
Yeah, Orange County, California is pretty well known if you know Orange County, California. And it's a very popular county in Southern California.
It was a good movie too.
Good. I'm glad that there are positive repercussions from the overall media out there.
They built some cool motorcycles down there too, custom motorcycles.
Okay, Orange County. See, if I told you I was from Albert County in New Brunswick, would that mean anything to you?
No, probably not.
I know where New Brunswick is.
Well, there you go.
So I guess I have to say Southern California.
Yeah. I'm just teasing. Welcome here, Roland, and thank you so much for your musical support here. It's great.
Once a DJ, always a DJ.
Right. That's cool. So Jay, let's first of all hear whether you're getting liquids, sunshine, or liquid snow, and in beautiful downtown Langford.
Right. Well, here, what I'll do is I'll give you a sneak peek of what my window looks like right now.
Oh, it's snowing out there.
Oh, it's frozen sunshine.
Yeah. So there's so it was a treacherous ride to the office today.
I heard that on the radio, that all the CBC guys opted to drive their cars this morning instead of riding their bikes into work.
Yeah, all the schools are closed too out here.
Is that true?
Yep. Yep. Hello, everyone. My name is Jay. My company is Magi Studios, and we help people get started in the world of online marketing. From where it's a balmy 1
degree Celsius.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Welcome here, Jay. I'm happy you're able to join us. So Gina, what's it like in your neck of the woods?
Well, it's foggy and warm and wet, but I don't know. Looking good. It's fine. I'm inside, so I'm good.
So the tree outside your window looks like it's got snow on it.
No, none of that. Nope, no snow.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we tend to be a little bit more moderate here, just because we're a bit sheltered and we're closer to the water.
Mm. So you better tell everybody where you are.
So in Victoria, directly across from Mount Baker, overlooking San Juan Island and Harrow Strait. And I'm Gina Donalds of Personal Passage Planning, who helps adults of all ages prepare so that they can respond and recover more effectively from both planned and unplanned life events.
Yes, planned and unplanned life events. The key. So it's great to have you back, Gina. We haven't seen you for a while. So I think I noted on Facebook that you may have been traveling.
Yes, we did actually go on our first cruise together. So we went down to Sandestin, Florida, which is like the Bahamas in Florida, beautiful beaches, lovely community. And then had our first cruise together on the Carnival cruise lines. Oops. And that was, hold on, my assistant will get my phone. That was really great. We toured the devastated islands of the Northeast Caribbean.
Aha, right on.
So had a few changes because of the hurricane. The worst island that we saw, because the ship took to different ports, was in Grand Turks, where there was still a lot of homes that were closed, businesses with no roofs on, still watermarks, and lots of mosquitoes from still water.
Oh, yes, of course.
It was crazy. I'm like, oh my God. But it was fun. We had fun. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. But nice to have you back.
Good to be back.
And speaking of mosquitoes, my brain just, somebody on the radio said, thank God we have winter, because if we didn't, we would be overrun with mosquitoes. So thank God for Canadian winters. So how about you, Bill? Are you overrun with mosquitoes in Belize?
No, actually, we're in the mountains inland, so we're a little bit away from the mosquitoes. We were overrun when we lived on the island, but mosquitoes are just part of life in the tropics. But no, we're pretty lucky. And I won't go into the weather here because either you'll think I'm bragging or I'm just a jerk.
Rubbing it in.
we won't talk about the weather. But anyway, what I do here in Belize is my Bill Does Belize website, where I share the unbelievable truth with people who are looking to make an informed decision on whether Belize is a place for them to move to or retire to. And I have to admit, I'm kind of winding that project down, and I'm getting ready to move into a new project, which can't really talk about yet, but hopefully in the next few weeks, we'll be able to have a bit more disclosure.
Right on. So it's so nice to have you back, Bill.
Oh, it's great to be back. The markets have changed timings for us, the fruit and vegetable market, and of course, everybody else in the world changing time zones and me not has made it a little easier to get here now on Tuesday morning. So thank you for having me. I appreciate being here.
Right. Right on. So welcome. So Alana, how are things in Ireland?
Well, it's a warmer day today, and I'm very jealous. Jay's got snow and we don't. So yeah, it's a lovely day here today. Warm, spring-like conditions, unfortunately, but what are you going to do? So I'm Alana, and I run a website called EmptyNesterBlog.com, and I help empty nesters make their own online income, and I also have a virtual assistant business, and I'm hoping to have that more structured in the new year. That's my goal.
Yes, and isn't it true that we're all sort of making adjustments in our thinking and in our plans as the new year approaches? So it's not unusual. I think we're all in that boat, aren't we? So very nice to have you here,
Thank you,
Alana. And Heidi, how are things? It's obviously not snowing in Italy.
No, not at the moment. But it's very cold tonight. We are now 6 o'clock in the evening, 6:30, and tonight it should be -5. So we are having our water dripping. So otherwise we will be without water tomorrow morning, and all the plants are covered, all the animals are inside. So I hope we will survive that, because here is nothing really prepared for winter. Temperature has to be over 0.
Yeah, I was going to say, you almost have to turn all your water systems off, otherwise the pipes will freeze.
No, we have to make it run all the time a little bit, because so it is in movement and so it won't freeze. But we had times where for 2 days we didn't have water because it was frozen, so it can happen. Anyway,
tell us all about your business.
My business is not a business, but more a non-profit, and we are doing mainly the interviews and conversations on the wisdomfactory.net, which is here on this lower third thing. And yeah, that's mainly what we do. Spread new ideas and good ideas, hopefully, and new perspectives of the world into the world. That's our...
So I just have to tell you that I'm slowly working on another local person here that I think would be an absolutely awesome person for you to interview. But we have to get him up and running on a hangout before before that can happen. So I'm working on a new interviewee for you.
Thank you. You have given us already some. Yeah,
I know. So this morning, as a follow-up from last week, we talked about niche research. And in the green room, we chatted a bit after the recording was over, and came to the realization that maybe we need to, we talked about finding a niche for ourselves and the process for doing that. But so now it seemed to be a logical next step would be for us to talk about, okay, so now that we've identified a niche, what do we do with our website so that it's specific enough to attract the audience that we want to attract? So just very briefly before we came into before the recording began, we did talk about how the trends have changed when it comes to designing a website. At one time, we used to, websites had everything under the sun on them. And today we're noticing a major shift away from that. And so I'm just wondering who in the group would like to sort of describe what they're seeing as the latest trend in website design and targeting.
Simplicity.
Yeah.
In terms of the layout, in terms of readability, because we're moving at such a fast pace when it comes to information delivery, and as a result of that, people need to acquire information more more quickly. So as a result of that, I think layouts need to be really rudimentary, in terms of a single column, that kind of thing, get to the point kind of thing. And also obviously, mobile friendly, so mobile responsive. So if you're running a local business and your end result is where you want to have people call your phone number, it's important to have that number right at the top, at least on a mobile device, so that way they can get a hold of you. So I mean, if you're a service agency, if you're a plumber or a house cleaner or carpet cleaner, that kind of thing, then boom, you want that number right there at the top so that they can contact you, because they're already on their phone and they're far more likely to call you instead of send you an email or send you any kind of online message, because then they got to kind of do this, right? But beyond that, I think in a non-invasive way, and what I mean by that is to really keep things simple fonts, don't have too many colors, and just have that call to action at the end. It's like, well, what do you want people to do at the end of your website? So I mean, so in terms of aesthetics, that's that part. In terms of web, like acquiring your audience, it really depends on where your audience is. So do they come in through search? Do they come in through social? Do they come in through networking, other sites? So I mean, that's kind of an experiment that you'd have to do, because every niche is going to acquire leads and sales in a different way, so
it's really interesting, isn't it, Jay?
5% of the time.
Where I'm getting cutouts and so forth. I hope nobody else is.
Yeah, that's why I moved into here to hardwire. So I moved into the green room here to hardwire. So hopefully you were able to hear all that, or most of it.
We got most of it. So okay. when you talked about local and the fact that people, well, it's not just local. The fact that people are accessing everything through their mobile. One thing that I think I learned this from Roland quite some time ago is I have this little plugin that as soon as the screen moves down in size so that it fits for mobile, there's a little receiver there that the person can click on that, and it phones you automatically. So there are some nice little plugins that you can use to do that. So getting back to the idea around simplicity, and that's kind of where we went last week when we were talking about niche research. We were looking at a very specific niche and making that a very sort of much narrower than we used to do. And I think we also noted that depending on whether your niche is a service and or a product, if it's a specific tangible product, it's much easier to keep that focus very, very narrow. A little bit harder to do, I think, when you provide a service such as mine, which is coaching. However, all these conversations that we're having is having they're having its effect on me, because I'm starting to think about ways to simplify my coaching website, making it much more focused. And so I think that as time goes on, we are all going to have to keep things as simple as possible. So I noticed that Roland, you were waving.
Was I? I wasn't actually waving, but maybe digitally waving. Digitally waving. Yeah, I wanted to. Well, I hear Jay's delivering. I thought, well, we can wrap up the show now, and I'll go home, because he pretty much put it into a capsule. And I have to agree that I've always gone by the mantra that we must design with mobile first in mind, but not only. So it's mobile first, not only. People use the mobile devices as a doorway, and if they're interested, they're going to do further research, which may be on mobile and may be on computer or tablet or something else. So the concept of niches and so forth, people traditionally used to want to put their encyclopedia of what they do into their website and online. So it's like, I won't miss a thing. It'll be cast this big, huge net out there, and everything that goes past will get snagged. But people are not doing it that way. They're pinpointing their searches, so it's micro focused on some minuscule subject. And if you do not answer the question regarding that subject, you miss the connection. So the outreach nowadays should be more micro focused on the part of the promoters, so that the niches and those things have their own landing page or a specific focus within a website, so that people can focus on that specific problem, and just take it for granted that solving that and offering that is going to get enough traffic then to guide people to the rest of your services if they're interested. But we really have to focus on the couple of things that we offer that are most important, and focus on that as the doorway to our general services.
Wow. Well, that's so you're suggesting a focused landing page,
or a series of focused landing pages, or a few or many with their own URLs possibly, and their own focus, so that you solve a problem with the landing page. And then if the people are happy with that, if you get a positive reaction, which is more likely if you're solving that one problem than if you're sending people to a website with your solution hidden amongst a number of links and pages, they can go to the landing page and see, this is the answer to my question, because that's what the mobile researcher wants to see. And then say, yeah, if you'd like some more, the mother website is this, and you can go there and see what else we have. Or you can stylize it so that the landing pages takes people to an experience that automatically leads to another of your aspects, another of your services, and it gradually expands out logically to provide more services to the viewer.
Okay. So, and I have a white box. Tim has put a note up that Jay added. Do you want to say what you added, Jay? Would you rather do it that way?
I didn't add that. I think that was Vivek.
Oh, was it? Oh,
Yeah, I think he was just concurring with what I was saying.
Yes. He's mentioned he had to change the theme on his website to get a higher page load speed. Now, he was referring to marks, which is one of the metrics that Google used to weight page load. And he says it now gets 80 out of 100, whereas Google recommends, and what he's talking about there is basically what Google is recommending now is that your web page or website needs to load right around 3 seconds or under, so that, I guess I could quit sharing that so you can see me, so that otherwise the phone users, they're gone. They're already headed for the next guy. So yeah, page speed is definitely important on the load speed now. And that's one of the keys to niching in, or as Roland mentioned, about that specific landing page, something that they hit the link, they're there, it loads for what they want. And then let them decide whether or not to go further
Can we
other ports.
Can we talk about what affects page speed? Because I think that'd be kind of a good segue.
Sure. Because I think I mean, the simpler our website is, I mean, if it's a simple website and doesn't have a whole lot of stuff on it, it's no doubt going to affect the page speed. So go ahead, Jay. What drop your pearls.
Okay, so can everyone hear me okay? I just switched microphones in anticipation of that I wouldn't cut out. Okay, so things that affect page speed. So I'm going to try to keep this as rudimentary as possible. I'm not going to techno geek out too much. So, and I'm going to assume that the website is going to be a WordPress website. But this would cover pretty much any kind of website. Things that affect page speed. Number one would be your theme. So the chosen theme and how well it's coded. So there is a link that Vivek actually provided inside the chat. It's called Page Speed Insights. This would give you a really good idea as a base point as to how fast your website is. It kind of gives you a grade, right? It's like a good, bad, excellent kind of thing, okay? So it's called, you could just Google Page Speed Insights, and then it would lead you to that. 90% of the time, the thing that affects your a slow site would be the theme, okay? Now the next one would be the amount of the quality of images. In some cases, people will upload images directly from their camera or their phone, which are relatively high in terms of the amount of pixels that are in there. So if your image is like a meg or 2 megs kind of thing, and you're wanting to place it on your website, I mean, when you upload it through WordPress, it compresses it a little bit, but if you keep doing that, it actually adds to the page speed, okay? So making sure your images are optimized.
So Jay, there is a plugin, is there not, that will optimize your images?
Yes, there is a thing called Smoosh. I don't remember how it's spelled, but I'm sure you could figure it out. It's not spelled what you would anticipate it to be, right? So, but yes, but I mean, you can also go into Canva and optimize an image. You can upload it and optimize it in there, you know. So the other thing is the volume of plugins that you would have in a website. So if you have a lot of plugins running on your site, those plugins are actively working. Those plugins are actively working on every single page. So to give you an idea, so if one person visits one page, that kind of make your site or that page run. So that plugin or that site for that one person needs to load that plugin, all of those plugins 10 times. Okay, so 10 plugins being loaded. So now let's say 10 people visit that one page. So those 10 plugins need to load 10 times. Okay, so it's always working. It's always working. So when you have, and that's just one page. So if you think about the amount of traffic that's coming to your site, the amount of people visiting your site at the same time, and all of those plugins working for all of those people, that is going to greatly affect your page speed. Okay.
So Jay, how many, how many is too many?
Well,
or what's the minimum? Oh.
Because there's going to be some cases where more plugins are suitable. I think it's not so much maybe the like I said, I'm trying to keep this rudimentary, but I mean, if you can keep it under 5, that would be great. The one, you know, and some plugins are going to be consuming more resources on your site than others. The one plugin that I know, if not set up properly, could be your Jetpack. It's something called Jetpack by it's actually built by WordPress. Jetpack kind of deceptively says, oh, well, why don't we just activate all the features of Jetpack, which you really don't need. And then all of a sudden your site comes to a grinding halt. Right? So so the only thing that I think is fine for Jetpack is the spam comment feature, which is called Akismet, which is actually a separate plugin, but it is associated with Jetpack. The second one is the little stats engine. I think works fine. Other than that, personally, I don't think you need to do anything else with it. So that's that. You know, so you have to take that into account. Lastly, you know, is your hosting power. So how fast is your hosting provider? You know, are you on a shared server? Like, and the way to really gauge your hosting is that if you're paying a really low dollar amount for your hosting, it typically means you're in the hood of hosting. You know, you're in the ghetto of the hosting world. Where, you know, there's lots of traffic, and you're like in Orange County. You're like at Orange County at 8:30 in the morning on the freeway. So yeah, so and that typically the dollar amount dictates the quality of your hosting. Okay, now I think one of the great things about hosting is that it's scalable. Right, so if you're just starting out, you can get that low-valued hosting, you know, and as your business starts to grow and as your traffic starts to grow onto your site, you can then invest in more quality hosting. Right.
So that's four things that really really impact the speed. Those are each one of those things, there are all kinds of little technical considerations attached to them.
Yes, and it really shouldn't be the entrepreneurs, you know, we shouldn't have to worry about all of this stuff too much. You know, we really shouldn't, because that's really not our job. It's the providers of the site, you know, that we have. So it's our hosting providers, it's our theme provider, it's our plugin providers, and it's up to them to deliver the best quality product so that we can run the best quality website. You know, we shouldn't have to worry about that. And in my opinion, I really do think. Sorry, did I lose you?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my phone kicked in here. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, right. So, you know, in my opinion, I think I like to pay for my themes. Like, I'll buy a premium theme for my WordPress sites, and I'll get, you know, really good hosting. I mean, I use the hosting for my affiliate sites inside Wealthy Affiliate because that's what they provide, and it's blazing fast. So you know, I'm happy in that aspect. You know, and I don't put too many plugins, you know, on my site because I don't need too many plugins. You know, I don't need all those bells and whistles.
Can I ask a question?
Please do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have a lot of plugins in this site, but I don't always use them. So is the weight also when there but not activated, or is it only for activated ones?
Good question.
Yeah.
That arose for me too.
Yeah, so if the plugin is dormant, basically, right? So if it's not working. Yep, it really does depend on the plugin. So some plugins are working in the back end even though they're not active. If you deactivate them, in most cases, like literally deactivate them, in most cases they're not running.
That's good to know.
Yeah, there's no reason why to have them. So, you know. But yeah, they'll be fine. If they're deactivated, it's fine, you know.
So
Can I chime in on plugins for a second?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Plugins is something I've found recently in my experience with my website is that you have to do a lot of research before you actually select a plugin. Comments plugins was one that I did a lot of research, and I actually was involved in a study with a major WordPress person. And
you can mention me.
Just because
she's been on this this hangout before.
Yeah, well, yeah, Mianna, there was about 20 of us involved in it, but we went through a lot of the different plugins. And for me, as a person that doesn't have a lot of experience on the back end of a WordPress site, I mean, I could easily select a plugin that would hurt me more than help me. I mean, some of these comment plugins are so heavy as far as the resources they take, but you might select it because it looks good. It gives you the person's gravatar. It gives them all kinds of ways they can select, you know, how they receive notifications and that type of thing. So, I mean, I agree with what Jay says in the sense that we shouldn't have to really worry about that. But I also think as owners of our sites, ultimately we're the bosses and we need to kind of inform ourselves, you know, as to the products we're using on our site, because a lot of these things that we do to help ourselves, I think can really hurt us as much as help us.
Can I say something to that? Yeah. I have a plugin which I use only every now and then, which is a profile performer, and he gives you the percentage of the different plugins you have and how much they weigh on your website. And I found that very interesting because I found some, I don't remember which one, which really was about a third of the whole. You see it nice in a circle with colors, took away only one click in a third of the whole, you know. And so I think it was Optimized Press, which was really great weight, but also others. And this is, it's fine every now and then to have a look what is really, so that didn't increase my speed a lot, but okay.
So
and I think it's probably also important to monitor that stuff. You know, like Jay says, your theme is one of the things that affects it. If your theme hasn't updated in 10 months, you might want to do some research into your theme and how it, you know, especially with all of the WordPress changes lately, you know, with SSL certificates, with PHP 7, the new Gutenberg and that type of thing. You know, when you're selecting plugins, I think you have to look at all of that stuff. So therefore, you need to have a certain amount of knowledge and you have to kind of inform yourself. I mean, I'm certainly not an expert in any of those areas, but I try and get enough information that at least I can ask the person that's helping me the proper questions.
I'm impressed that you said PHP 7, and as an actual concern. So that's quite impressive, you know. And again, you know, it really does fall down to in terms of like we shouldn't have to worry about that. It should just work, you know. So I think when it comes to selecting that kind of stuff, you know, as Bill said, do your due diligence and do some research, you know. And I really do think the paid themes are a really great way. It's the path of least resistance to getting, you know, a really good site going. You know, yeah, it sure costs money, but if you factor in the amount of time that you might have to manage a free theme or update it or tweak it or change it or do whatever, you know, your time is more valuable where you can work on promoting your site and stuff, which I think is something that we could perhaps segue into.
So I would like to say something about a paid theme. Often, you know, people think that when they pay for that theme, it's just, you know, being gouged. But what you really are paying for is for that the owners of the theme to be able to constantly do the updates that are required. I mean, people have to make a living, right? All of us have to make a living. And the other thing is that I know, for example, the theme that I use, I can use that more than once. And it's got enough variety to it that you can do things so that the average viewer would never guess that it's the same plugin. I know that you know, people that are really versed in website development might recognize it, but the average viewer wouldn't recognize that you were using the same theme for something different. So you can use paid themes more than once, right? So anybody else have before we leave the page speed and the topic of the 4 things that impact the page speed? Any other comments or questions arising?
I have one.
Go ahead, Alana.
So my question would be, does the size of your site have any impact on how fast it loads? Like if you have a really big site with lots of information on it and it's aged, say, 5-10 years, will that have any impact on how fast it loads?
That's a great question. And it kind of boils down to what we talked about, you know, the quality of plugins that you have and the quality of your hosting, and hosting being scalable. So if you're on this nickel and dime hosting and you have all this traffic coming to all these different pages, yeah, it's going to slow your site down, you know, because all that information, all of your words and all of the links to your images and stuff like that are one data really just kind of going in that. Think of it as like a single Excel spreadsheet. Imagine you ever have this really big Excel spreadsheet and it's got so many fields. It takes forever. You see the little bar on the side getting smaller and smaller because it takes so long to load. It's the same thing. So, you know, if you have a fast computer to process that, it's going to load quicker. So, and it really does boil down to that hosting thing. So, but as your site grows, you're going to be theoretically earning more passive or earning more income from that site, which then you can then reinvest into more quality hosting. I think if you were to reinvest in hosting, what I would take into consideration is not so much like a higher price tag, but one thing that creates better hosting is being on what's called a single IP address. So a single IP address means that you kind of, for the lack of a better term, own that IP address, meaning no other websites are kind of stuck on that IP address.
A good simile of that would be like having it shipped to your house instead of the post office or the local UPS warehouse where you had to go dig for it.
Right. Yes. So
excuse me, I still have a question to Jay on WA. What type of hosting is that? Is it the one you're saying, or is it the shared hosting and the not so good? Can you give me the information?
The servers that are used for the hosting are Amazon. They're Amazon servers. So they're blazingly fast. It's also called cloud hosting. So cloud redundant hosting, meaning it's got backups of backups. Okay, so if your site, for whatever, if for whatever reason one of the servers blows up, there's a backup of your site and basically a clone of it. So it kind of goes, oh, it detects that something's down, so it goes over to another place.
So when Heidi was asking, or no, I guess it was Alana, who, if it's an old site and it gets bigger and bigger, I mean, as time goes on, based on the way I have my website now, I have a gazillion blog postings. So, and also now with this VCP, I have a page for every VCP hangout. So I'm guessing that all of that is going to slow it all down.
If you have traffic coming to the site, if you have a lot of traffic coming to the site, a lot of those pages, it'll slow it down. But if you still have a kind of a minimal amount of traffic, let's say you have 100 visitors a day, then I think it's totally fine. But as that scales up, it's trying to it could slow the site down. And it's just a volume numbers, right? It's just in terms of volume. The more people you have visiting your site, the more resources you're using on your hosting server, thus the longer it takes to load.
Right. Well, I certainly remember a server that I was using some time ago that it was so slow that even for me, who was managing the website, it was so slow I couldn't stand it. So I eventually left that site and went to another one. So where the servers are, does that make any difference, Jay?
Sure.
Because the site that I'm using now, the servers are in Vancouver.
Yeah. I mean, going to where the server is located, then we can talk about how powerful they are, how, in terms of are they tapped into big pipe and all this kind of geek stuff, right? In my opinion, in most cases, if it's, if they're in some third world country, in a hot desert climate without any fans, yeah, it's going to affect it because, servers running are going to generate heat and they're going to overload. So, the quality of the facility where the servers are located is a big factor, right? I've been to a couple server rooms, hosting server rooms, one in Kelowna. And it's pretty wild. They've got like air conditioning from the bottom, like on these great fans, just blowing cold air up on these servers. And they do retina scans so you can go in there. And it's just so loud, you can't hear anyone talk. And it's really wild, it's pretty wild. And it's it's crazy. So, but
we've got some lag on Jay's voice.
Yes, I know.
Delivery. About every second or third time you talk, it just lags out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
your answer is
what I got from what Jay said is don't ever use a host server that's hosted in Belize.
So could I throw a little something on that?
Yeah.
There are many things to be looking out for, but as per the VCP events plugin, it runs with a Google comment stream, which is on Google servers. It runs on a YouTube video, which is on YouTube servers. And so reasonably so, when you have an event on your page, the traffic and absorption of bandwidth is mainly based on the visitors, and otherwise is very lightweight. So you don't have to worry too much about the VCP events plugin. But when it comes to servers, if you have a website, now probably all of us here are all on shared servers. We don't have dedicated servers. We are on shared servers, right, Jay? Wouldn't you say? You're not on a shared server?
No way, man. No, I've got one site. I've got a couple sites that are on Deddies, so just because the pure traffic volume of them.
So when you look across everyone here, probably
yes,
the rest of us are all on shared servers, and 90% of the people you talk to are probably on shared servers too. So being on a shared server isn't bad, but something to look out for is if you've been there for years, they upgrade their servers. And what I found with GoDaddy was I got to a point where it's like their servers were upgraded so much that I had to switch from the old server to the new server. So I transplanted my entire hosting account to the new server. It was really a chore. So please don't find yourself in that position. And you can't help it if you get stuck there. But always check with your host and make sure that your servers are as up to date as they have to offer, and upgrade when you have to and when it makes sense. Otherwise, the job later on could be massive.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm an only child, so I'd never go on a shared server. So.
The other thing, too, is one of the factors. Jay was mentioning the databases earlier and how like they load. The thing about a database, unlike an Excel spreadsheet, is the spreadsheet you can't optimize so that the data is aligned like you defrag your hard drive. Whereas a database has that ability to where it correlates the data to where everything is on basically, it would be like on the same page of a book in Excel as opposed to everything on one page. So one of the things you want to do is if you don't know how or you're not comfortable doing it, you need to get someone that is familiar with and comfortable with, especially on a WordPress site, optimizing your database on a regular basis, going in and telling the database to, okay, go in and put all the data on the basket it belongs in instead of having the lunch over in the breakfast basket, so to speak, because that way it can find what it needs faster. Your site speeds up because it doesn't have to look through all the baskets to find what it's looking for.
So you're going to have to you're going to have to translate what you mean when you say the database. Is that the PHP thing that Bill referred to? There's Jay saying we were trying not to geek out.
You're going down the rabbit hole.
Yes. Basically, the easiest way to explain the database is it is the nooks in a rack. You've got a big wall unit with little cubby holes in it. And each cubby hole holds a certain type of letter or project or picture. Mm-hmm. And each data area holds that particular type of letter. And that's all you want in there. But the problem is the postman goes through and he just throws all the mail in all the cubby holes just so that he empties the sack.
Yeah, but Tim, it's not just the filing system. It's the machinery that accesses and organizes that data. So it's in a place, but then there are tools that help you access it for the purposes of your MSQL database that runs WordPress. And that's the whole thing. So the database takes up a lot of resource, but it saves you a lot of work because you're not doing all this manually. So there's a trade-off.
Yeah, but and that's what I was saying. That's the area that has to go in. It's like cleaning out the garage every spring and fall. You need to go in and clean your garage for your website.
So the question is, yeah, I was going to say, so the question is, Tim, because none of us are probably doing this. So how often and who do you go to do this for you?
You're going to want someone like Jay or myself that at the system administrator level that's comfortable with the ultra geek side of it, because there's some of the tools are simple enough if you pick up technical quickly, but even that, if used wrong, can really mess up the whole website. So that one, for the most people in this hangout today, I'd venture to guess probably you're going to want to pay someone a little bit for a database maintenance at least a couple of times a year for a couple of 3 hours of work.
And that was my experience. I mean, I kept an eye on my Google Analytics when I saw things slowing down. I have a lady that provides me a great price, but I spent every 6 months probably between $300 and $500 US to get my site back online, because I just didn't have the experience in the back end. And again, it comes down to knowing a little bit about the stuff you're using. And we put a great comment in there about paid themes.
Yeah,
and being careful what you use, because he's saying sometimes people buy themes that have way more stuff than they need, and it's actually hurting them because the stuff they're not using is bogging the website down. And when you get a busy website like Jay said, sure, the plugin only takes 2 pounds in the camel's pack, but you get 100 people on there, you know, that's 2,000 pounds, and it breaks the camel's back. So we can't look at the plugin as just an individual thing. We have to look at it as its cumulative effect and effect, like how it's going to help us and how it's going to hurt us, I think.
The plugin that broke the camel's back.
Well,
that's a great way of saying it. I'm just kind of looking at the time, and I was thinking, do you want me to just quickly blast through on promoting your website?
Yes, sure. Oh, wait a sec. Let's share this comment that Tim has up there.
WeWig makes a good point, and that they optimize each page to load up fast. That's all one really needs to do. But that's his opinion. Some people are going to insist on having those extra pictures and stuff, and that's where that database needs to be cleaned up and the old data deleted to optimize that. And knowing what to delete and what to keep is what a lot of people in the database don't know. If you can edit your old pages yourself, it doesn't necessarily mean that the database cleaned it out.
So that's geeky too. Thank you, Vivek. I'm really happy that you're out there. But that would be another conversation. How on earth does one optimize the page? So boy, we have really geeked out here today. So let's go on with promoting. Jay, let's do that quickly.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so once you have your database optimized and all your plugins clean, your theme is optimized, and you spent all this time to develop, now it's time to let everyone know about your website, right? So the number one thing you can do is use a tool which is free that Google provides called Search Console. Okay, and it's at google.com/webmasters. It's free. It's relatively easy to set up. And basically, it is a virtual bullhorn that you can yell to Google and say, hey, Google, I've got a new site. Hey, Google, I've got a new page or blog post, et cetera, et cetera. And what that does is that gets Google to come and visit your site, look at all the pages that you have, look at all the words that are on that page, and then it basically deciphers what your site is about, and then puts your website and all its pages inside their search database and puts it in accordingly to, you know, keywords in terms of what they perceive as what you're trying to rank for. Okay. Now, so that's one thing at the very least you can do, right? And I think that's one of the most effective tools out there. Now, going back into the site, there's a couple things that you can use. There's one plugin, and it's a SEO plugin. SEO means search engine
Optimization.
So called All-In One SEO, or you can use one called Yoast with a Y. Either one, both of them do the same thing. Okay. Now, primarily what they do is it helps you optimize the page so that you can essentially create an abstract as to what your page is about. And you do that with two little areas. One is called a meta title, and the second one is called a meta description. What those two things do is it gives you a little, it can make your title unique, your blog title unique, or your page title unique. And then the meta description creates a small little abstract, a sales pitch, your elevator pitch for that particular post or page. And those two little things, meta title and meta description, in most cases show up in the Google search results, so that if I Google art therapy, US, and so then Tim's site would show up in the search results, and then Tim says, it's Tim Longwell Art, art company, and then a short little abstract, right? And that would be his meta title and a meta description. Okay, those two things, just those two things, using the Google Search Console and that plugin to create the meta title and the meta description, those two things alone can dramatically help your rankings in Google and effectively bring traffic to your website through the Google search engine.
I know that Bill has a question about that. So Bill, go ahead.
Yeah, and I guess I'll direct this at Jay, but recently Google has had a shift towards longer snippets. I've been reading about the average snippet used to be, around 155 characters. Now some snippets are as much as 300, and between 300 and 350 snippets. Has Yoast been updated to reflect that stuff yet? First of all, and secondly, should we be going back and changing our snippets to take advantage of that real estate? Because from my point of view, I see an advantage and a disadvantage. First of all, if you're number 9 on the page, all of these longer snippets in front of you might throw you off of that page and onto the next page. And the second thing is, we maybe run the risk of answering the question that we want people to come to our website to get by putting in too long a snippet. So it seems to me that there's a balancing act there as to using it properly to get found and hurting ourselves so that we never get found.
Yeah,
Can
great
I ask
question.
a question too first, that we may put it together? Is that these plugins create themselves the snippets, or do we have extra to put them in? Because I never understood that, if I have to reinsert let's say the beginning of my blog post, or do they do that by themselves?
Okay, so I'll answer your question because it's a quick answer. So if you don't put in anything, Google will put it in for you. Okay. So in my opinion, I personalize, I put every single meta title and meta description in every single post, because it is the opportunity that I have to create something unique that fits within that little space inside the search engines. Okay, so Google will do it for you, right? It'll use your blog post title, and then the first paragraph, it'll kind of pull out information. Okay, but it might not make sense as a result of that. So Bill, what Bill is referring to is the meta description. Typically, it's 150 to 160 character limit. Then it gets it gets truncated. It goes ... It gets kind of cut off. So what Google has been experimenting with is increasing that abstract to, as to what Bill says, up to 300 characters. Now, this really does depend on several factors, but at the end of the day, it's really about something called knowledge graph. Okay, so and it's not so much the meta description, and Yoast has not updated, as far as I know, that they have not updated the area to coincide with that. Now, knowledge graph, if you were to, let me just give me 1 second. How to cancel HostGator.
Different subject for another day.
Well,
No,
Yeah.
no. I'm trying to find a knowledge graph.
Okay.
I think Google's calling those smart snippets or something like that.
Okay, there we go. All right, so I got it. Okay. Okay, so what you're looking at is I Googled how to clean your snack helmet. And then we've got this big list here, right? And then also you notice here, this list is more than 155 characters. This is a lot larger. So basically, this is based on the authority of a website. So looking here, you can see that there's different snippet results. So this one's exceptionally long. This one's exceptionally long. And this one is the normal one, okay? The reason why these ones are longer is because of the knowledge graph and the authority of a website. So it perceives, so not everyone is going to get something like that, okay? So if Google perceives that your site and the meta description and stuff deems it like it's a good answer, that you'll be able to get the answer right away within a meta or within a knowledge graph, it'll put it there instead of directing you to your website via something smaller like this. See, Google wants to deliver the fastest answer possible, even if it means preventing the people to visit your website. So I could just read this and not need to go to this website.
Right.
This website is now more of a footnote, a references to the answer.
So that block that you're showing there, that is what a knowledge graph is.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But by doing that, are we not hurting ourselves? Because ultimately, the whole idea of these snippets is to drive traffic to our website, not to answer it in Google search.
Exactly. Yes.
So you're
balancing.
Being shown as an big influencer, with and hoping that people will go to that website because it's a big influencer rather than to find more detail.
Well, one thing that people tend to forget too, and we got to keep this in mind when we're optimizing our pages and our load speeds and our websites. Yes, Android uses Google Chrome. Google Chrome favors Google search. Apple, on the other hand, favors Safari, and they use a different search engine. You can get Firefox and Internet Explorer for your phone. Just like on your home computer, people prefer those browsers on their phones. You're not optimizing for just Google. That's what you have to keep in mind when you're balancing those knowledge graph snippets versus getting the information enough to get them to come to your website.
Well, and it's too bad Jay has to leave because I'd like to know a little bit more about it. But it seems to me that you probably now want to optimize your page in that first 155 as best as you can. Add additional next 150 without giving away the answer. Like, provide the information that, yes, going here is going to answer your question.
So I call what I just showed you, I call that an authority sacrifice. So basically what that means is I'm creating something of value for that user in exchange to build authority and not so much a sale, right? It's more of an SEO, pure SEO tactic to build authority within Google and within my audience. I don't ever expect to earn money from that search result. But what I do expect to earn is basically Google street cred, so that when I create future posts or future things, such as like Seattle Seahawks snack helmet or Seattle Seahawks fan gear or something like that, boom, then I show up. Because Google then says, hey, that's that dude that helped, that kind of created that knowledge graph, and yeah, so there you go. So it's an authority sacrifice.
That's a good way to put it. I'm noticing that we are way over time this morning, and
I got to fly here.
We're all needing. Well, thank you for your contribution, Jay. We're all needing to move on in our morning, and I see by without I've not recognized Eileen, who was out there. I didn't see her there until just now. So anyway, I think it's time for us to close and recognize that it's important to do what you love with passion. So I'm going to screen share my outro right now.